I voted for Eric Salgado right around Brooklyn College. And I want to tell you a fantastic thing. Some of my associates did literally within less than 24 hours after the vote, they were able to see on the internet what different election districts did in different parts of the city. And I want to report to you that in several election districts in Flatbush, Salgado got won 40%, and in one 38%. This is phenomenal in Flatbush.
It was like 150 votes.
Whatever it was, I don't know what the amount was, but the point is the percentage that Salgado got such a high percentage means what? That there were a certain level, a certain subset of Frum Yidden who took very seriously what the Rosh Hashiva Rav Nelkamam of Mir and the Rosh Hashiva Rav Newman of Lakewood and 40 plus other Rabbanim said to vote for Salgado because of the moral values. On the other hand, Borough Park, in certain areas Salgado did decently, but in most cases in Borough Park, at least we can say that the Borough Park didn't go for Quinn. So Baruch Hashem, we didn't have that Chilul Hashem. But a lot of Borough Park split between de Blasio and Thompson, and they ignored the chance to make the Kiddush Hashem. First of all, not enough people are listening to Rabbanim. Second of all, you don't even need Rabbanim to say this. This is common sense. Common sense is when Hashem gives us a candidate for morality. Imagine, as I said before this election, imagine if 10,000 Orthodox Jews around the 5 boroughs would have voted for Salgado. So even if he would have got only 7% of the vote, like Anthony Weiner, but they would have had to notice the politicians and the media and Klapi Shemayim that these Jews are really concerned with morality. And Midah Keneged Midah, our kids will be preserved from all kinds of immorality that's besieging and beleaguering us from all sides. The Christine Quinn, I mean, this is the shtus, because Afro Lapume, but Christine Quinn came across as a shrill, high-pitched, shrill lesbian who was following during her political career the Bloomberg line on many issues. And this turned off the true progressives, because the progressive says, listen, if I could have de Blasio, who married a lesbian, and they say it, they're so proud of it, and the son with the afro, so I can have the whole package, and there was no compromising. He hates Bloomberg and he said so, and he's a fighter against Bloomberg and everything else, so what did they need Quinn for? And this is a poetic justice. Bloomberg was going with sugar from this, because his arch nemesis, the one who's the extreme left, they call it progressive, I mean the extreme left, who will turn over all kinds of Bloomberg's good initiatives on a number of issues, and maybe take us back to a Dinkins era. All of a sudden, this guy is on top, and Bloomberg's going with sugar because his whole legacy can be overturned in less than a year if de Blasio gets in. So this is a poetic justice in this also.
So I take it you don't like de Blasio. You're not voting for him.
No, please. I know what I'm voting for.
Are you going to vote for
Salgado is on the school choice ticket that gives Frum Yidden an opportunity to say, listen, Rabbani Shalom, Loda is meeting with Sharpton. That was in the news. He's meeting with Sharpton. So right away we see that Loda he marched in the gay parade. He said clearly he's for marriage and stuff like that, even though it's over, it's an issue. No, it's not over, because now they're making worse legislation. They just made in New Jersey a law that you are not allowed to counsel a person, could even be an adult, a child or an adult, who feels that they have homosexual urges and they want to be heterosexual, they want to be normal. You can't do that. That can't come to New York. What about the bathroom bill that passed in California that says that anybody who feels like a mushchas, a man in the body is trapped a woman, he's allowed to go into the woman's bathroom? So how can I vote for a guy, Loda, who is like this and marches in the parade and says he supports the agenda? Well, we have a choice between the devil and the Satan. Now, our only hope right now, and I would never vote for him, but our hope is that there should be a runoff. Because if there's a runoff, Thompson is less liberal, far less liberal than de Blasio. And he's not such a lowlife like Loder. Loder is a betrayer of principles. So is Thompson good? He officially, by mouth, he supports their agenda also. But he's not like, l'shem, he's not l'shem yichud, this and that. So we have to hope. But we don't have to help that along. We do what Hashem wants. Let me say this about the Strobel Deutsch race. I was upset when Chaim Deutsch supported Lou Fiddler against Strobel. But Chaim Deutsch had reasons for doing that. And all I can say is as follows. This is what I want to say about Chaim Deutsch. And nobody can question me on supporting moral candidates and stuff like that. I have not seen a candidate yet for the Frum community who has had the collective experience, literally of quarter to 2 decades, if not a full 2 decades, where the volunteer stuff with the Shemrim, the chasodim that the man's done that I'm personally aware of, all kinds of stuff. And the experience in city government, city council, he knows how it works from day one. So with all due respect to Starobin, he went into the Senate for a few months, and I give him credit. He sponsored an anti-marriage bill to turn it over, and he sponsored a $5,000 this or whatever it was, a tax credit or whatever he did. It's all good. But it's all basically window dressing. If it would be Strobin against Fiddler, I would jump for Strobin. But if it's Chaim Deutsch from our own community, I'm sure Mr. Strobin has to understand, although I supported him the first time around, there's no question now that Chaim Deutsch is Mishalonu, and he needs every vote now, and I'll explain to you why. Because this was made as a Russian district. And if Oberfeld or Obermann, the other Russian who ran, wouldn't have split the Russian vote with Kagan, Deutsch wouldn't have won by 300 votes. He would have lost by over 1,000 or 1,500 or whatever the exact number is. So now the Ruskies, so they sagen, gesund und stark, can come out in force. And the fact that Strobel was one of theirs, and was actually a state senator, this is going to potentially, this could be one of the closest and only races in New York in the election where it's potentially possible for a Republican candidate to win in Brooklyn. Not in Staten Island, but in Brooklyn. Strobel has a chance now. So we all really have to take this Chaim Deutsch thing very seriously. He has people who are telling him, and he feels himself, that he has a chance because of what I told you, that he has a significant chance. And I want to make an appeal. There should not be any Ezra Friedlander types in the Orthodox community, anybody, even for the reason of morality, there shouldn't be anybody who should break ranks and go and support Strobel for this race. If Strobel will run in a different race where there are people from the community who's running against a liberal Democrat, we'll be happy to support him.
Boulder, Colorado, there's massive floods. You heard about it?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think this is a message from God again?
You want to know what kills me? What kills me is that there are a certain amount of Christian ministers who are very aware of the Bible, where Hashem talks about pestilence and disease, and we've had in our history the concept of floods. We're seeing an ever-increasing amount of this stuff. Whoever says that it's just coincidental is an apikoros. It's an apikoros. Of course it caused the back. This is not a knippenbeckel. Hashem's not doing this, making floods of such massive proportions, time after time in hurricanes, because we're doing great. And this is his way of saying, hey guys, you're doing a wonderful job. Come on. We're destroying this great country. What Rav Chaim Volozhin called the letzte stantia, the last stop in Golis. And what Rav Moshe Feinstein said was the Medina Shel Chesed that has done so much to facilitate Torah and Yiddishkeit. It's being destroyed. And we are turning the other cheek to that destruction. Yeah, de Blasio, yeah, this low life, that low life. What's the matter with us? Everything for a few shkolim? How much does it cost to sell out God? Listen, they're not going to listen to our message. The message that I have to give is to Frum Yidden. You want an insurance policy for your children and your grandchildren, that they should be moral, that they shouldn't be caught in the throes of temptations, of all types of temptations, of the internet, of movies, of fraternizing with the opposite gender. We have so many problems. Rabbi say, wake up and smell the coffee. If you have somebody who stands for morality, don't be guts fazarga. And don't listen to these quote-unquote askonim who are all going to lack a bandel when their guy gets in, de Blasio gets in. So Hatzkel is going to have a good time, and Moishel is going to have a good time, and Yentel is going to have a good time. And of what? And what's going to happen with the moral climate? It's going to go downhill, and there's going to be more crime and all the chazarai that comes along with it also. If you vote for
You're
such a
afraid of
progressive.
another Dinkins era if de Blasio
Yeah,
comes in?
very, very much so. He sent all the signals. He's sending all the signals. And this is dangerous for us besides from the morality. Even forget about it. I voiced my concerns to his face with the feeling that it's like talking to a wall. This is a guy from day one. He has a history of 2 decades of being an ultra-extremist liberal. They call themselves progressive. You know what progressive means? Every type of immorality, weak on crime, fawning to third worldism and all that it entails at the expense of decent people. Will he throw us some bones? Did you see that video where the Satmar guy is whispering in his ear 20 times, and he refuses to talk? He speaks the video 7 minutes. I don't know if it was your video or somebody else. It was your video? Okay, and anyhow, 7 minutes, not one word about Mitzitza Peh, and the guy saying in the building video, he promises on day one. He's laughing in our face now. If you needed a signal, he'll sit down with the rabbis. You know, we'll sit down with the rabbis. You know what we'll say to the rabbis? Listen, this thing, I think, just the form, you know, you leave it to me that it won't go further. And there's a lot of other issues that you rabbis have to start worrying about in your community, so I would suggest you don't push me toward it. If he's not willing to do it in an election, during the election, he's got us by 5. Please, come on. Let's not be foolish.
So why not just endorse Loda? I mean,
Because I'm explaining to you, Loda is worse. Because Loda is Pataki. Again, when Mario Cuomo was in office, we knew he was the opposition. But when George Pataki gets in on the conservative line, and Mario Cuomo couldn't pass a statewide Mishkav Zohar rights bill, not marriage, but the first opening called rights, employment and housing and this and that. Who passed it? Pataki did it, the conservative Republican. Loda's already signaled. He's not only terrible on the family values issues, but he's signaling us by kowtowing to Sharpton how much he's willing to be a lecker, you understand, to extremist elements in other communities. What does this portend? What does this foreshadow? Listen to me. On the one hand, stop and frisk. The amounts from 2 or 3 years ago were staggering the way the cops were doing it. On the other hand, when you say, I'm going to get rid of Kelly, when you look at New York that's in the crosshairs of terrorists all over, we have to give a certain amount of credit to the policing of what they're doing, even if they went into mosques and stuff like that. And all these civil libertarians who were screaming, you went into mosques, you went into New Jersey mosque, you did this. We're in Sakanas Nefashis. We're in Sakanas Nefashis, and the Jewish community is in the crosshairs. We need a strong police department, even if they harass us. And as for the black community, with all due respect, there's a certain amount of blacks who say, I want this in my community because I'm scared stiff, because 1-year-old babies get shot to death. And Jesse Jackson famously said 10 or 15 years ago, when I'm walking on a dark street in a black neighborhood, I'm afraid. So once in a while, the emes comes out. So if they're going to do away with stop and frisk, whoever thinks the crime rate isn't going to go up needs to have his head examined.